I hope you can hear that.
The end of the Grey Goose.
That's medicine from
Is it?
years of being in the music business.
Yeah.
All right, I think we left off at wherever the hell we were.
Here's where we are. It's part 2 of the rock and roll saga with my anonymous guest, Negative Zero, here on Friends with Deficits. I'm your host, Adam Sultan. Be sure to catch part 1 of a rock and roll saga, so you've got some background to this wild ride, as our guest runs out of liquor and runs from one career as a live sound engineer to another. Well, why don't you just listen in? It goes all over the place. And speaking of that, if you'd like to see this podcast, Friends with Deficits, go all over the place and continue to provide interesting stories, entertainment, hard-won life lessons, please consider being a contributor at patreon.com/friendswithdeficits. This is commercial free, but it's not time and energy free. I really could use your help, and I really appreciate all the patrons who have already been part of this community, where you can have access to outtakes, music, random personal musings of mine, and just know that you're helping support the show, which should make you feel good, and it certainly makes me feel good, and is so needed and appreciated. Now, let's rock and roll and get back to the show, okay?
Okay, so this is what happened after Liberty Lunch. After 9 years at the lunch, I was burned out of working with a different band, 3 different bands every night. It's like having 3 different girlfriends a day. Some of them are just a fucking bitch. They come in with a bad attitude. There's nothing you can do to make them happy. So I just, year after year of band after band with bad attitudes, I burnt out. I could not handle. It was just sensory overload. By 93, I left the lunch. And at the time, they were going to shut down for almost a year to do refurbishing and reinstalling everything. And it was perfect for me. I took my PA out of there and I took it to my house, which there was no room to put in. And I decided, I'm out of the sound business. I'm going to be a photographer now. So I gave away my sound system to many different people and to many different bands. I gave away my sound system, and then I started giving away all of my microphones and cables to a bunch of my friends who were in bands or had little tiny recording studios. I had nowhere to put it, so I was just giving away everything. And the photography business did not go good. I started to run out of money. This is one thing that most people don't talk about being in the music industry and traveling or being an artist, is that you cannot hang on to a long-term relationship. Satisfying and making happy another person is difficult because you are so enveloped in your job or traveling for your job. So I had that stress on top of me of not only leaving Liberty Lunch, my partner left me for one of the bartenders at Liberty Lunch. So, you know, all my life, because I was born in the ghetto with parents that abused me, of course you're going to have depression and anxiety issues, which are more compounded with the sex, drugs, and rock and roll lifestyle. Even though you love it, it's not very good on the psyche. I had made a lot of money, more money than any of my peers. And it was just money to spend on drinks and drugs and toys and cars. But that doesn't really make you happy. You can't jump in that car and feel all warm and fuzzy and loved. You can't grab those microphones and drugs and feel warm and happy, because it all comes from your communication and contact with people that love you. And I was lost at the time. When they say sex, drugs, and rock and roll, to me, it was sex, drugs, rock and roll, rinse and repeat. I was young. I was made of armor. No bone could break. I could do anything, and everybody let me do it. But it's when you run out of money that you lose your friends. I had just finished being the richest sound guy in Austin, looking for my new route. I thought I was going to be a photographer, and I was a successful photographer for a while, but it was not paying what I had bought myself into. So after I left Liberty Lunch, I spent 2 years not only floundering, but I became homeless. Not because I ran out of money, because I ran out of hope. I moved out of my expensive, nice apartment because I didn't want to live there anymore. I had already lost everything. But I still had everything. I had furniture and TV and silverware and dishes and furniture and a boat. Look around in your house right now. What do you have? You have a stereo, you have albums, you have stuff hanging on the wall, you have furniture, you have posters, you have everything. But I couldn't take it where I was going. So one day I decided I was going to carry everything into the front yard and say free. So it took me about 4 days to carry everything that I owned into the front yard and give it away. Because I did not want to carry it into the next adventure of my life. So I gave away thousands of dollars of what I spent my life earning. I gave it all away because it meant nothing. I was in a depressed state. But regardless, I don't think if I was in a depressed state, it would have meant anything anyway. You give it all away. Just, it's less weight on you. At the time, I had a fucking red Porsche. And as you can, if you know, those early Porsches don't have a very big trunk. So in the back, all I put was just a small suitcase with clothes. And I just had my most prized possessions, which was maybe a microphone or two. And I drove directly to Austin City Park, which I had been fishing at on my bass boat many times. So it was just me and my Porsche and whatever I could fit in it. And I was on my own. I didn't run out of money because I still had cash. But I gave everything away because it didn't mean anything. And this was sex, drugs, and rock and roll talking. I can survive anything. You cannot kill me. But I can still be sad and depressed. So now I'm on the street. I'm homeless. I'm a rock star. But I'm homeless. So I decided I was going to be homeless until August 16th. And that was maybe 5 months away. So I remember driving into town, being on Guadalupe Street, and there was some places where there was sprinklers that watered the lawn, and if I got there early enough, I could take a shower in the sprinklers and be fresh. And Whole Foods Market would allow you to use their bathrooms. So there I could use the restroom and clean up and wash my socks and my t-shirt. So I was homeless for almost 6 months. It was a great education. I loved it. I suffered, but not like other homeless people suffer under the bridge. I was a rock star sufferer. It only had to happen for 6 months. I still had a car. I still had a little bit of money.
Did you have friends? Did you hang out places?
Oh yeah, I still went to Steamboat. I still went to Steamboat and hung out. And because I gave a bunch of equipment to Steamboat, I still drank free. So I could still go there and drink my vodka on the rocks 5 times over. Chicks hanging out. Oh, you need a drink? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. So I never dropped the rock star profile, ever. But when I went home, which there was no home to go to, I was the other rock star, the broke rock star. I had to go through there to get to here. When I resurfaced on August 16th, I was doing something normal. I needed to have a key rekeyed. So I was at Catherine's on 6th Street, which is no longer there. And a drummer friend of mine walked in and he said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I said, "Hey man, you know, I'm all right, I'm good." He said, "You still doing sound?" And I said, "No, I'm not doing sound anymore." And he said, "That's too bad because blah, blah, blah needs a sound engineer. You should call her. If she needs a photographer, I'm there." Because I'm still, at that point, I'm still a photographer. Because, no, you should really call her because it's a great gig. And I said, "Well, you can give her my number. Here's my card, but I'm not a sound engineer anymore." So he left and I got my key and I went to where I had found my first shelter after being homeless, the little halfway house practically. It wasn't really a halfway house, it was one step below a halfway house. A room you get off of the bulletin board at the coffee shop. Mm. And then I got a telephone call. So it was my future boss. And she said, "I heard my drummer talk to you. He says you're looking for a sound job." And I said, he must have heard me. "I'm not looking for a sound job, but you're a sound guy from the Liberty Lunch, right?" I said, "Yes, that's me, but I'm not a sound engineer anymore. I'm a photographer." "Oh, that's too bad because I'm looking for a roadie sound guy." And I said, "Good luck." And we talked about other small talk. And she goes, "I really need somebody to go with me this week. Would you do me a favor and just go with me this week?" And because I had nothing else to do this week, I said, "Okay, I'll go. But I'm not promising anything." So I decided I was going to go on this 3-day run for a band that had done sound for 2 years ago. And we go to Corpus Christi to play this gig at Johnny Rockets. And with all the experience that I have now, after 35 years on the road, Johnny Rockets is the butthole of music clubs in the world. This is the absolute worst place you can put anyone. Whether it's a sound engineer or a guitar player, it is the worst thing you could ever walk into. Bad mic stands, bad cables, bad everything. And they put me into that position to do my first gig back into the world. And it was horrible. It was horrible. All I could think of while I was behind that tiny little rust-ridden console was, why did I say yes to this? This is awful. I'm going backwards. Even she said, that was terrible. I tried to put the blame on someone else, but in the end, you can't really. It's just you. I've learned long ago that don't put the blame on others. You put it on yourself. So the next day, we went to Houston and we played a major blues fest in Houston with a gigantic stage and a state-of-the-art sound system that I could still kind of put my head around, and we had a fantastic show. So we went from black to white. And after that show, I learned what it was like to be in her band, which is you have your own hotel room. We're a headliner. You do your best every night. That's all I expect from you. So now I have been with that one band for almost 25 years. And we have grown from playing that shithole to playing every shithole in America.
Oh, right.
To get to this point. Believe me, I didn't go up to the front of the line. I had to wait in line and play every shithole in America, every bad PA, every horrible venue, and try to make it work every night. And that gave me the education that I could never have gotten anywhere else. I learned from every problem that I had to solve. I earned my degree over and over and over every night. I see that problem, I know how to fix it. I see that problem, I know how to fix it. So now my artist is at an extreme high level. Now, everywhere we go, we are a headliner. I get to be king of the stage. I get to tell the 4 or 5 stage hands and monitor engineers and front of house guys how I want it to be for my 1 hour and 30 minutes on stage. Luckily, I know what I'm talking about. I only give back good information. All I want to do is do it right and make everybody sound good and make everybody feel good about what just happened. Where I came from was dirt, being dragged through the dirt, that I learned how to make it an art, which it is. I'm a sound engineer. I'm over 65 years old. I've been on the road all of my life. I don't have a degree in accounting. I don't know how to do anything other than this. And I'm really fucking good at this. And I didn't mention this at all. And I'm only going to say it because I just remembered. 10 years ago, I had a stroke. And I became 100% deaf. It's called sudden hearing loss. One day I woke up and within 3 hours I was deaf. And then I went to the hospital and they gave me steroids and a shot of steroids. And I got back 25% in one ear and 20% in the other ear. And I continued to do my job. And then 2 years later, I had a second stroke of sudden hearing loss. And I lost 100% of my right ear. And at this point, I only have 22% of my left ear. It's very difficult for me to carry on a conversation with somebody sitting across the table from me. And I've lost relationships because they become frustrated because I can't hear them and we cannot communicate. But I have taught myself how to listen and how to be a live audio engineer, because every night that show has to be like a record. It took a lot of retraining on my part to learn how to listen again, how everybody listens. Luckily, I grew up in the classic rock generation. Led Zeppelin, I listened to that every single day of my life when I was young. All the other classic rock bands I listened to religiously every day, 20 hours a day. So when I lost my hearing, what could I do? I went back and I listened to all those records that I listened to every day to say, my brain now hears these records in a certain way. So my brain needs to readjust. So this is the way good sound sounds like now. So I had to reteach myself what rock and roll sounds like. And I have. So now, because of that knowledge, I can do that job with less than 20% of my hearing. Luckily, I work in a loud environment.
Did any of your hearing loss come from just being exposed to loud volume?
No, I don't think any of my hearing loss came from loud noise. It was just strictly medical. After speaking with the doctors, they said that some men after 50, they have micro strokes, and sometimes it hits your cochlea, which there is only one, from what I understand, one blood vessel going to the cochlea, and that's where I had, unfortunately, my clot in my cochlea. So that's why I became deaf, not because I was put in front of loud rock and roll bands, because I would have been deaf when I was 21. I was there front row of every loud rock band in anywhere. So no, I'm not accidentally deaf. I don't believe in God, but somebody made me deaf, not me.
Like, what do you do to be able to mix somebody when you can't really hear them? What are you relying on?
Oh, God, I am surrounded by technology. One thing I have is inner monitors, which are custom-made inner modes for your ears, and I can plug them into the headphone output of whatever mixing console I have. Plus, I use an extremely fantastic software called Spectrafoo, which is an RTA, real-time analyzing a software, which on a computer screen will show me in real time what's happening right in front of me as far as equalization. So I can see feedback even though I can't hear feedback. And other than that, it's just knowing compression ratios and just keeping your eye on the band and keeping your eye on input levels, because these days mixing consoles give you so much information. You just have to be able to, it's just like being a seeing eye dog. Who knows how those dogs know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's not a secret, it's hard to explain.
Yeah, well, I know from mixing and from engineering on a computer, you're using so much of the visual information anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the band that I've been working for for decades. So I've trained them. You can only play so loud, and this is what we do at the monitor mixes in order for me to make you sound like a record, because every night I'm mastering the song.
Yeah.
And give me every opportunity to make you sound good.
Did they all know about your hearing loss?
Not at first, because I had been with the band for almost a decade before my hearing loss. And then I had to present the findings because we were on our way to Europe, and I had to say, This is what happened to me during our summer break. I'm sorry. I'll try to learn. I'm on the books. I have to do these gigs. I'm booked. I will do the best I can.
Was this before you had that technology to work with?
Yes, the technology did not come to me after the accident happened. Now I surround myself with technology. I have one laptop and one iPad and another piece of technology surrounding me doing my show. At this point, I don't need it all that much. I use it only as a last chance reference, but I'm really good at mixing the band. So I had to retrain. I'm like an alien listening to normal sounds.
So when you listen to music, especially music that you like, or that you used to like, do you still enjoy listening to it?
I don't listen to a lot of music, but there is a few bands that I like, and my hearing loss puts me into a position where I can't have a lot of conversations with people. So I usually say hello and then push myself away because I don't want to get into a situation where I'm in a crowd and people are talking and I have to hear everyone. So it's made me into a loner individual. That's one thing that has happened. I'm still social. I still wave and smile. But if you want to have a conversation with me, you got to be right up close. And that sometimes becomes an issue because there's too many people who want to be right up close. And I don't want to give myself away. I do the best with what I can. And I think I do well.
I have a question that I ask everybody on this podcast.
Yeah.
Which is, what are the benefits, if any, of what you've gone through in terms of hearing loss, let's say? Like, what would be, if there are any benefits?
Fuck yeah, there's a lot of benefits. There's a lot of guys somewhere that I've met who say, I want to be an audio engineer, but I don't know anything. Study. I want to be an audio engineer, but I'm deaf. Fucking suck it up and make it happen. I'm not doing something impossible. I'm doing something unique. That's all. I've lost relationships because they're tired of, you can't hear what I'm saying. Yeah, okay. But I'm making money doing this. I'm good at it. Don't take that away from me. Yeah. I still have it. And hopefully I'm going to have it for a while. Being deaf is not a drawback. Yeah, it's a handicap. I'm not limping. I can still see straight. But I can still mix my band like it's a record. And we're still a headliner. We've never stopped being a headliner. And no one has complained. I still have my job. And people want to hire me. I guess it's just the journey of being loud.
The journey of being loud. I like that. That could be the title for this.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for listening. Hey, sign up for our newsletter at friendswithdeficitspodcast.com. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. Tell your friends about the show. And finally, check out patreon.com/friendswithdeficits, patreon.com/friendswithdeficits for more goodies and to become a supporter. Once again, I'm Adam Sultan. Rock and roll, rinse, and repeat.